Let's celebrate the magic of short stories and poems. They are truly magical, aren't they? They make us feel happiness, heartbreak, horror, hope, hatred, and so much more. Namaste people. Welcome to Shweta's Basket, a weekly stories and poems podcast, and I'm your host, Shweta Singh. The story that I have for you today is the kind of story that I used to read in my childhood. So if you have young kids in your house, do grab them and make them comfortable on your lap. I am sure they will enjoy this particular story. It is Vishnu and the 2 Glasses of Milk. It is written by the very versatile and prolific author Vibha Batra. Now, Vibha is a Chennai-based author, graphic novelist, advertising consultant, poet, lyricist, translator, playwright, travel writer, speaker, and columnist. She has published 1 book, no, 2 books, no, 3 books, no. She has published 18 books, including The Secret Life of Debbie G, Bhatinda to Bangkok, the Rinky series titled Sweet 16, 17 and Done, 18 and Wiser, and the very popular Pinku Shergill Pastry Chef. The absolute endearing story about Prabhujot Shergill, who secretly aspires to be a pastry chef. For the complete list of her books and where you can buy them on Amazon, check out the show notes. She has contributed short stories and poems to the Chicken Soup series, international anthologies, print magazines, and e-zines. You can connect with Vibha on Facebook and Instagram, and links to both are in the show notes. Now, this particular story, Vishnu and the 2 Glasses of Milk, is part of a short stories collection titled Family Crossword, published by Leafy Publications Private Limited. This particular book is available on Amazon and Flipkart, and links to both will be in the show notes. So here is Vishnu going to his granny's house in Vishnu and the 2 Glasses of Milk by Vibha Batra. Every summer, I go to Bhagalpur. Have you heard of it? It's a small village in Bihar. My granny, that is my mum's mum, lives there, in a big white house with fields all around. She doesn't live by herself, of course. She is way too old for that. She lives with my uncle, aunt, and my cousins. I kind of like my cousins. They're sweet. They don't act bossy, nor do they pretend to know everything. And they never ever boast about their clothes. They never ask me, which car do you have? Or which TV do you have? Like my friends at school. Huh. Back to my cousins. Their names are Jyoti and Ojas. We are a team. And oh, they have a boy who looks after them. His name is Siaram. And he's not much older than us. I like Siaram a lot. It's really good to have him around. When we can't play a game because 3 is an odd number, he's happy to join us. He's usually on my team and is ever ready to listen to my command. That makes me happy. I wish I were class monitor and everybody listened to me in the school too. Siaram came to work for Granny as a little boy. Ask him for his mother or father and he points upwards. They have gone to the sky, Vishnu Bhaiya. Are Buddhu, I correct him. People don't go to the sky. Then where do they go? He asks. Oh, Siaram, they don't go anywhere. And they definitely don't become stars. They just stay in our hearts. But he trails off. He doesn't argue with me. He just stands there. looking small and utterly lost. That makes me feel so guilty. I try and make up by distracting him. Let's play a game. And the sad look disappears from his face. Every morning, Siaram brings me a glass of milk. And every morning, I make faces before gulping it down. That is the only thing I don't like about mornings. I wish nobody watches me, but Siaram does, like a hawk. He doesn't take no for an answer. He merely threatens to raise an alarm. And that worries me. I sure don't want Granny to know that I'm wasting her precious milk. That will mean another long, boring lecture. Somehow, Granny's lectures always begin with, "When I was a little girl, blah blah blah." Oh, I can't bear to hear another one of those stories. So, I do the next best thing. I make a great show of gulping the awful thing, leaving a sizable amount back in the glass. And then I back it up with an excuse. Too much malai. Too thick. Too hot. Too cold. But something happened last year which made me change my mind. Made me look at milk differently. Tired of having that disgusting liquid day after day, I decided to rebel. That fateful day, I marched up to Granny and declared in my best grown-up voice, "I am not going to have milk hereafter. It's always way too hot. It smells and I just hate it." I dragged the syllables in hate for good measure. Granny replied calmly, "Okay, there's a glass of chilled milk in the fridge. You can have that." "No, Granny, I am too full." "Have it after a while, dear." "Granny, you don't understand. I am not going to have milk. Not now, not ever. I will never have milk again." Of course, Granny wasn't too thrilled about my decision. She wailed, "If you don't have milk, you will become pale and thin and unhealthy. What will your people say that he came back from his granny's place looking like a bag of bones? When I was a little girl, I used to come back roly-poly from my granny's place." She broke off and started singing one of her silly songs in a sweet voice. "नानी के घर जाएंगे, दूध मलाई खाएंगे, नानी के घर जाएंगे, मोटे होकर आएंगे." Loosely translated, it means, "We will go to Granny's place, we will have milk and cream there, and come back nice and fat," or some such nonsense. Granny tried every trick in her book, but to no avail. I was determined. From that day, I refused to even look in the direction of milk. Every morning, Siaram brought the tall glass to my room, and several hours later, he carried it back to the kitchen, untouched. My stubborn behavior really upset Granny. Strangely enough, Siaram looked more affected than her, as if he was a relative or something. Drama king. For one whole week, he walked around with a sad expression on his face. What's his problem, I thought, thoroughly irritated. It's not as if he's my relative, so why is he so concerned about my health? Days passed. One afternoon, as I lay on my bed, there was a meek knock at my door. "Bhaiya, it's me, Siaram." It wasn't like him to disturb me in the afternoons. I sat up. "What is it, Siaram?" He walked in, looking very timid, pale and tired. Without warning, he burst into tears. Bhaiya, this is a humble request. Please have milk from tomorrow. I sighed. I should have known. I know you are concerned about my health, Siaram. Don't worry. I will get my nutrition from other, far more tastier sources like chicken, fish, eggs. I explained patiently. Tears filled his eyes. It's not that, Bhaiya. It's just that. I was really puzzled. It wasn't like Siaram to be this emotional. He continued amid loud hiccups. When you used to have milk, you used to leave little amount behind. I was a bad boy, wasn't I said, trying to lighten the mood. No, Bhaiya. It's just that I used to mix water in it and carry it home for my little brother. So when you stopped drinking milk, my brother did too. You can imagine how I felt. Terrible, stupid, selfish. I tried very hard to say something, anything, but I just couldn't. From the next day, I decided to have not 1 but 2 glasses of milk, much to my granny's delight. The second glass, of course, was for Siaram's brother. But I couldn't tell Granny that now, could I? So, isn't it the kind of stories that we grew up on? And tell me, did your kids like it? You know, the short stories these days are all about different POVs, that's point of views, and I'm equally guilty of that. And rug pulls at the end. But give me a sweet story like this, of life's lessons imparted through everyday characters, and I can read them non-stop. And they just make me so happy. So, when I read this story, I knew I had to share it with you guys. As a matter of fact, I have my own milk story to share. When I was in 7th standard, I was learning Bharatnatyam and swimming, and I was cycling 8 kilometers to and fro to the pool. So I started feeling this pain in my knee, and my mom took me to see this elderly orthopedic, and I was resigned to the fact that he would now prescribe a truckload of medicines, and I hate taking medicines. So after all the examination was done and he had asked me all the questions he wanted to ask me, he finally asked me, how much milk do I drink? And I was like, And even as I squirmed under his steely gaze, he said, well, that no glass of milk has to become 2 glasses of milk a day. My face fell because I hated milk, just like Vishnu. I looked at Mom, hoping she would intervene on my behalf, but what do you know, she was grinning from ear to ear and she asked, any medication? The doctor said, no need, just give her milk. My only small victory in all of this was that he said it was okay, that I could add some coffee to the milk instead of those other Bournvita or Boost or Horlicks that was very popular with the kids at that time. And thus started my reluctant love affair with coffee. Till date, that's how I like my coffee. It's just milk flavored with coffee. I am not a cappuccino, frappuccino, macchiato kind of a person. So that was my milk story. If you have a milk story, do share it with me. Okay, now moving on from milk to our one question section. So last week I'd asked you, right at the end of the poem Bitiya, written by Pooja Kabra, the father says, Ye sadaiv yaad rakhna. So the question was, what was the father asking his daughter to remember always? The right answer is, Main hoon na. And the right answer was sent to us by Vasudha ji. Thank you, Vasudha ji, for sending in the right answer. And moving on to the one question for this story. So the question is, where does Vishnu's granny live? And now you know, there are 3 ways to send in your answers. You can DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email your answers to shweta@shwetasbasket.com. And do join me next Friday when I bring 2 poems from a book titled Just Another Wave, written by the Queen of Verses, Sai Surve Rane. I tell you guys, even her prose is poetic. So I have 2 of her poems, Ode to Childhood and Closed. They are 2 beautiful poems with 2 beautiful emotions. So do join me next Friday. And that brings me to the end of this episode. Do subscribe to my website www.shwetasbasket.com so that you're always up to date with what's new in the basket. And stories and poems are not the only things. You will find book, movie and restaurant reviews in the basket too. And if you enjoyed this episode, then follow or like the podcast, share our episode on your timeline and tag us, and recommend us to your friends. Help us reach more people. Shweta's Basket is available on 18 different platforms like Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Gaana, JioSaavn and others. We're also on YouTube. For the complete list, check out the show notes. And if you want to get in touch with me, I am on Facebook and Instagram, and my handle is Shweta's Basket. And guys, in this day and age, it's a good idea to have a website. So if you're thinking of having one, then listen on, because having a good-looking and professional website is just a click away. In the meantime, this is your host, Shweta Singh, signing off. Till we meet again on the air next Friday. Bye for now. Do you want to have a website of your own? Are you a writer, photographer, actor, makeup artist, hairstylist, or even a tutor, singer, painter, journalist, consultant? Or do you have your own cafe, restaurant, resort, holiday home, shop, small business, hospital, or even a blog, WordPress or Blogspot account that you want to migrate to a good-looking website? Well, look no further. The geeks will help you, and you will find them in the Geeks Room at iTunes. Just click on the link in the episode description. Yes, it's that simple to have a website. My website is hosted and managed by them. And want to know what I love about them? They are professional, customer pleasers, straight talkers, and very competently priced. So what are you waiting for? Your website is just a click away.